Welcome back to episode 4 in our series of strange things found in ancient prayer book. Today's episode is about my favourite miracle from the Quran. Absolute concrete proof that nothing has been added in nor taken out from the Quran. Let's check it out and dive straight in. So, are Muslims nuts for saying that the Quran has never changed? I mean, never ever? That's a huge claim. And we often hear that the Quran is the unchanged word of God. But how do we know for sure? Well, for 1400 years, Muslims had to rely on the following verse from the Quran. Behold, it is we ourselves who have bestowed the Quran from on high, step by step, this reminder. And behold, it is we who shall truly guard it, the Quran, from all corruption. But there is a problem. You have to believe in the Quran first, that it is from God, before you can believe in the verse. Read that to an atheist and he'll say, so what? But what everybody does believe in is mathematics. And although some of us are good at it, some of us unfortunately aren't. And that's why I love this miracle. It doesn't matter whether you believe the Quran is from the Creator, because it proves without doubt that nothing has changed. Keep in mind that the Quran was revealed more than 1,400 years ago. This miracle has only been discovered in the past 20 years. I'll make it easier for you to follow by doing this on screen. We can do this together and then you can see. Let's go.
Right, I actually wanted to demonstrate it to you so you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I wouldn't be able to do this without a computer, so you can imagine how difficult this would have been to write a book like the Quran with this already embedded in it. So what we have here is all the chapters from the Quran. In total, there's 114 chapters. And here I've just used the English translation names. So the opening is Surah Fatiha, the cow is Surah Baqarah, etc., etc. Nothing unusual there. What I'm going to do is just remove the cover here, and you can see we just have the total, the chapters total. So for example, here we have chapter 1 is one chapter, and then it's 1 plus 2. So you can see the sum here. It's just basically saying the previous total plus the additional chapter. So we have 3, and then here we have 3 plus 3, and they're all just totaled down to 6555. Okay, so I've highlighted it for ease later, and we'll come to that in a second. The second thing is just the verses. So if I remove that, you'll see Surah Fatiha, the opening chapter. Chapter 1 has 7 verses. Chapter 2 has 286 verses, and all the way down. And I've taken this from a source on the internet. You can validate all of these numbers. Yeah, there's no issue with any of these numbers. Then I'm just going to remove this, and what you'll see is that if the chapter is even or odd, I've highlighted it here. It's using a sum, a formula in Excel, just to make it easy, but also just to show that there's no human error or anything like that going on. You can see the sum as it goes down, and it just so happens that 57 of these sums, and again this is a count in Excel, so 57 are evens, 57 are odd. And the reason for that is because there's 114 chapters in total, and half of them are even, half of them are odd. Now that 114 could well have been 113 or 116, 115 or even 100, you know. It just so happens that the Quran has 114 chapters, and that's the way that the author of the book wanted it. And then we move on to the verses. Back to the verses again. So again, just like we did with the chapters, we totaled them. Here we're totaling the verses. So 7 verses, then we have the 7 plus the 286, which is 293. And again, these are all formulas, so you know, very straightforward. You take the total plus the new verses and you get your new total. And then that goes all the way down to the bottom, where we have a total number of 6,236 verses in total. Right. Just removing this one, and what we see is that it just looks at whether they are even or odd. So here it's 7, so that's odd. Here, in fact, it's actually looking at the verses. So it's saying there's 7 verses, 7 verses in total, so that's an odd number. 286 is obviously an even number. 200 is an even number, and then that goes all the way down, again, for all of the entries. And the final thing that we're just doing in the table is we are adding the chapters plus the verses. So chapter 1 has 7 verses, so in total 8. Chapter 2 has 286, so that is even. Okay.
Now we have all the numbers we need. For those of you who are familiar with programming or data, you'll realize that what we actually are developing is a checksum. Just to sort of put that into simple English, what it basically means is that it's a sum of numbers which you can later check against to make sure that the sums are all still correct. If the sums are different, then it means that there's some data that's missing.
I have a few tables over here, and this is where it starts getting really interesting. So as I mentioned, there are 57 even and 57 odd verses in total, chapters in total. And here, looking at the combined sum of the odd verses, so here with the combined sum, if I was to filter on odd, okay, and I was to then highlight and look at that total. So the total comes to 6555. Okay, so if we remove this, 6555, and just likewise for the even, if we were to do exactly the same, we would get a total of 6236. Just in the interest of time, I won't do that, but you can take my word that that is 100% correct. So 6555, 6555. That is the total chapters. Here we're looking at chapters and verses, odd and even. Yet it comes to the same total. Even, 6236. The total number of verses, 6236. Again, that is the total for the even number of verses. This is, let's just say we've got lucky. We've got two large numbers which have, just by some sheer coincidence, added up together. Let's move on. Right. Here we're going to look at chapter and verse, odd plus even. So in total there's 30, and even and odd there's 27. So what do I mean by this? So you can see that it totals 57, which is exactly half of the chapters of the Quran. But what do I mean by odd plus even? So let's go back up here and let's say, so we're going to have a look at the odd chapters and the even verses. Okay, and then let's just count how many we have. So we go down and we see we have 30. As you see, we have 30. And then the even plus odd, we have 27. So let's do that. So let's count this now. And this is the reason why I wanted to do it in Excel, because the thing is, 27. You can't argue with Excel. So 57 of those are 57 chapters in total. And when we look at the split of odd plus even and even plus odd, we come to 57 in total. However, when we also look at the verses that are included in that, so even plus odd, which is the 27, and we do a count on the verses, let's see what comes up. Again, like we did before, counts, do a sum of the verses, and you can see 3501. 3501. And I won't show you on screen, but if you really want to see it, you can email me. The odd plus even, if I was to switch those around, that would come to 3504. Combine those two together, again, 6555. 6555. 6555. And amazingly, on the other side, if we have two chapters and verses where they're both odd, and we have two chapters and verses where they're both even, we get the exact opposite, right? So not even, there's no reason why this had to be this way. It just is. It's a complete mirror of the other side, right? 30 and 27, total of 57. And when we remove that, and we go through exactly the same calculation, we come with a total of 6236. And when we look back at our original numbers, 6555, 6555, 6555, 6236, 6236, 6236.
As you can see, The checksum amazingly holds in 4 different ways with the chapter total and verse totals perfectly. And if you think that it's just some sort of coincidence, then you need to understand that if any chapter had even one more verse or one less verse, this entire system would collapse. But the most amazing thing is that even if we swap 2 chapters around, this would fail. Let me make it clearer. If the Quran had changed in any way, this checksum would fail. It shows that the Quran is perfectly preserved and has never changed. But the crazy thing is that the Quran was revealed over 23 years in small parts, and once it was revealed, it could never be edited. It was compiled into a book, and at the end of those 23 years, so this code has been hidden for 1,400 years. It's not even human nature to write a book protected by a hidden code. It's so complicated. You know, I've shown it to you on a computer. To write a book with a code embedded in it would have been even more complicated. This is so powerful because whether you believe in God or not, or the Quran or not, you cannot deny mathematics. So, do we know for certain if anything has been added or removed from the Quran? I'm sure even you know the answer to that one. This is just one of many, many miracles in the Quran, and I'll be covering a different type of miracle over the next 30 days. I would love to share them with you all. So please, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on WhatsApp, all you need to do is click the link in the message and that will open up YouTube. You can subscribe from there. Finally, please share this video. It's the best way you can help us out. We want it to go out to as many people as possible. Thanks once again for watching another episode. We'll be back tomorrow with another great miracle from the Quran.